Ever wish you could crack the code to financial freedom? Imagine shifting from a life choked by debt and anxiety to one where prosperity feels natural. Sounds too good to be true? I thought so too, but a single surprisingly simple habit completely changed my life, rescuing me from crippling debt and ultimately leading me to millionaire status. It's worked wonders for countless others, and now I'm sharing it with you. Early on, I toiled relentlessly, yet saw little reward. It dawned on me, a revelation no one had ever shared, that hard work alone isn't a guarantee of wealth. Otherwise, construction workers rising before dawn, nurses enduring grueling shifts, dedicated teachers, and long-haul truckers would be rolling in it. The reality is, many struggle financially, barely making ends meet. This sparked a crucial question. If dedication isn't the key, what is? The answer that reshaped my destiny, aligning your mindset with the frequency of abundance. Everything vibrates, including our thoughts and feelings. Initially, I didn't grasp this. I was vibrating at a frequency of scarcity, fear, and worry. And guess what? My life mirrored that. Low income, sky-high debt, 18 months' salary's worth to be exact. I remember sleepless nights agonizing over the electric bill, waking up already defeated. You know the feeling. Constantly putting out fires, chasing your tail, never quite reaching your goals. That's not living. That's surviving. My breakthrough came when I realized I needed to change not my external circumstances, but my internal vibration. I developed a simple yet profoundly effective habit: daily affirmation. I wrote down a seemingly outrageous financial goal, a number that felt completely unattainable. I had no clue how I'd achieve it, but I read that statement repeatedly, every day, as if it were already a reality. At first it felt ludicrous, but gradually, something shifted within me. My thoughts, my language, even my perception of opportunities changed. I started seeing possibilities I'd previously overlooked. Science backs this up. Our thoughts generate electromagnetic fields, and repetition strengthens neural pathways. Each repetition of my goal was like planting a seed in my subconscious. The more I repeated it, the more my mind believed it, and the more my actions reflected this new belief. And things started to change. Unexpected connections formed, innovative ideas surfaced, and my approach became bolder, more focused. All from a single habit: writing and reading a daily affirmation as if it were already true. Examine your own life. What frequency are you broadcasting? Are you focused on debt or abundance? On bills or breakthroughs? That's the pivotal difference. It's not about relentless toil, it's about cultivating the internal environment that attracts the right opportunities. This seemingly insignificant habit, dismissed by many, transformed my finances, and it can transform yours too. Understanding that repeated thoughts shape decisions illuminated why some thrive while others stagnate. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's conscious mental conditioning. I chose a simple habit and practiced it diligently, writing a specific goal on a card and reading it morning and night, visualizing it as already achieved. Initially, it felt ridiculous. I lacked resources, connections, and experience. But each reading sharpened my perception, like using a flashlight to illuminate pathways that were always there, hidden while my mind was fixated on bills, urgency, and fear. By repeating an idea with emotion and clarity, the brain reinforces neural connections, and the reticular activating system highlights signals consistent with your defined priorities. Suddenly, I noticed previously unseen opportunities, discreetly marked outsourced services signs, less crowded times to pitch proposals, key individuals who were before just faces in the crowd. The external world hadn't changed. I had. My filtering, my focus, my inner dialogue, and consequently, my daily choices. I tested this habit during a particularly challenging period. There were nights I'd sit at my desk, card in hand, my mind screaming, "Who do you think you are?" Instead of fighting the doubt, I used it as fuel. I'd read the affirmation firmly, then create a small plan for the next day. One extra call, a proposal boosted by 10%, initiating a conversation with someone I'd avoided. Nothing grand, just consistency. Within weeks, I landed a contract that months prior would have seemed too ambitious. It wasn't luck. It was the alignment between my affirmations and my actions, between my visualization and my self-presentation. Repetition trained my body to act like someone who already possessed that result, and aligned action breeds progress. This is where many falter. They write the goal, read it for 2 days, put the card away, and conclude it doesn't work. It's like planting a seed and yanking it up daily to see if it's sprouted yet. The habit only reveals its power when you persist long enough for your mind to adopt a new default setting. This mechanism extends beyond finances. When someone repeatedly affirms, "I manage my time masterfully," their schedule transforms. Fewer empty promises, less guilt over saying no, fewer distractions. When someone repeats, "I make decisions with serenity," impulsive purchases decrease, negotiations improve, sleep improves. And when the focus is financial, "I earn $5,000 a month delivering exceptional value," the individual begins charging accordingly, refining their offerings, connecting with decision makers, requesting referrals with precision. It's not magic. It's a new identity being practiced until it becomes automatic. That's how it was for me. One morning, after reading my card, I entered a building where I'd previously been rejected 3 times. Instead of requesting any service, I presented a specific solution to the building's most pressing issue, at a time when costs were lower. I didn't invent competence, I recognized it, refined it, and communicated it better, because my mind was primed to find the link between my goal and the client's actual need. To experience this firsthand, try a simple 7-day experiment. Write your financial goal in a single, present tense, measurable sentence with a compelling reason to motivate you to say it aloud. Read it upon waking and before sleep. Then answer 2 questions in writing. What's the smallest step toward this goal today? And what's the most likely obstacle? And what action will I take when it arises? This combination strengthens the habit. Emotional repetition to train attention, and a tiny step to train behavior. By week's end, notice the subtle shifts, conversations that open up, ideas that emerge, an unexpected invitation, a fee you finally dared to include in a proposal. It may seem insignificant, but that's how the balance starts tilting in your favor. One unforgettable afternoon, crumpled affirmation in my pocket, I returned from a meeting met with a vague, "maybe later." Years ago, I'd have swallowed the disappointment and gone home. That day, I stopped on the sidewalk, reread my goal, and asked myself, what would someone who's already achieved this do now? Instead of giving up, I climbed 2 more floors, knocked on the administration's door, and offered a 3-night trial service, unrestricted with before and after metrics. They accepted. 30 days later, the trial turned into a contract, and that contract became a referral for other buildings. The dominant emotion that night wasn't euphoria, it was relief. The relief of knowing I wasn't at the mercy of chance, but in control of my mental training, my focus, and my choices. If you ever feel overwhelmed, take a short break. Close your eyes for 10 seconds, read your goal softly, and immediately find 3 pieces of evidence that something in your life is already moving toward that goal. A skill, a contact, an experience, a partial result. The brain craves evidence, and when you provide it, it releases the brakes. Then guide your day with the question that changed my destiny. What's the next small, visible, measurable action that confirms what I just affirmed? Repeat this long enough, and you'll notice the same thing I did. Life seems to conspire in your favor, but it's actually you finally conspiring in your favor. I grew up hearing that money was dangerous, that wanting more was greed, that suffering is necessary to deserve. These weren't harmless phrases. They became my lens for viewing the world. And here's the crucial point. Until about age 7, our minds absorb everything unfiltered as absolute truth. You grow up, change jobs, homes, clothes, but you may still operate with the same emotional and financial programming installed in childhood. That's why so many work tirelessly and still feel trapped in a vicious cycle. Much activity, little progress. The mind is trained to vibrate at a frequency of scarcity, debt, fear, and life responds in kind. The signs that your programming is in control are clear. You earn a little more and mysteriously your expenses increase proportionally. You land a great contract, and days later, you make a fundamental mistake that negates the progress. It's always the same obstacle. You revert to the comfortable level of your financial self-image. It's like an internal thermostat calibrated to a specific limit. Once you surpass it, the system triggers invisible alarms, delays, distractions, guilt, impulsive purchases, broken promises. It's not a lack of strategy. It's conflict between a new outcome and an old self. Until your internal image expands, you'll treat any growth as a threat and sabotage your own success without realizing it. I fell into this trap myself when money started flowing in at levels I'd never seen. I felt like an outsider in my own prosperous life, as if it wasn't for me. And amidst anxiety and shame, I found myself at a high-stakes gambling table in London, wagering exorbitant sums, almost as if I wanted to shed what I'd achieved. There, with a clenching in my chest, I realized it wasn't bad luck, it was self-image. I was trying to return to my old equilibrium, that of family scarcity, balanced accounts, and don't reach too far. The emotion that day wasn't euphoria. It was a kind of mourning for the persona I needed to leave behind. And in that mourning, a decision was born, to reprogram my sense of worthiness so that success would cease being an exception and become my new normal. I witnessed this same dynamic with another individual. A woman approached me after a lecture. She'd received a significant settlement. Within 2 years, it was all gone, and the debts had returned. It wasn't a lack of money, it was a lack of identity compatible with it. It's like giving a luxury car to someone who only knows how to ride a bike. She didn't destroy the asset out of malice, but out of lack of skill to manage it. Money amplifies what already exists internally. If there's fear, urgency, guilt, the result is loss. Earning more before seeing yourself as someone who can maintain and multiply is like pouring gasoline into a misaligned engine. Loud noise, little progress, imminent breakdown. Breaking this cycle isn't a single heroic act. It's a practical process of substitution. First, identify the belief that's dictated your path. Money is dangerous. If I prosper, I'll be rejected. I'm not good with numbers. Then, write the alternative in the present tense, simply and measurably. I manage money calmly and clearly. I earn $5,000 a month delivering exceptional value. Next, demonstrate this with small daily behaviors. Reviewing your bank statement for 5 minutes with curiosity, not guilt. Asking for a better rate in 90 seconds, without excessive justification. Setting aside 1% of every income for an opportunity fund, however small it may seem. And maintain the repetition until your body stops resisting the new pattern. Reprogramming is the intentional repetition of an idea until it replaces the old one. It doesn't happen overnight, but it starts the day you decide to stop sabotaging yourself. If doubt arises, pause for 30 seconds and use a technique I adopted. Breathe deeply, ground your feet, and ask yourself softly, honestly, what's the smallest gesture that confirms who I've chosen to be now? It could be submitting that proposal with a 10% increase, saying no to an unnecessary purchase, or calling the right person instead of spending an hour optimizing something that isn't moving the situation forward. With each gesture, your internal thermostat recalibrates. Anxiety diminishes, guilt dissolves, self-confidence ceases to be a mere statement and becomes embodied memory. And when memory changes, life follows suit. I suggest a 10-day protocol of misalignment and realignment. Days 1 through 3, belief inventory. Write down all the automatic phrases that arise when you think about money. Days 4 through 7, substitution. Rewrite each phrase in the present tense in behavioral terms. Days 8 through 10, evidence. Each day, list 3 pieces of evidence that the new pattern is underway. A conversation, a piece of data, a habit, a fee charged with serenity. By the end of this short cycle, You won't have become a different person, but you will have done something more powerful. You will have demonstrated to your mind that it doesn't control you unquestioned. And when the mind understands that there's an adult in charge, it stops pulling you back to the familiar and allows the new to become comfortable. That's how paradigms shift. Not in explosions, but in small, repeated decisions until the old loses its authority over your life. There's an invisible line separating those who live in abundance from those who remain in scarcity, and that line isn't talent, luck, or inheritance, but how they see themselves and the world. I've seen people win fortunes, lottery prizes, unexpected inheritances, meteoric careers, and, a few years later, return to the same point as before, sometimes worse. This happens because the external result grew, but the internal remained small. Material success demands an identity that can sustain and expand it. Otherwise, the mind finds a way to return everything to where it feels comfortable. Think of Mike Tyson, who earned millions in his career and ended up with nothing, not for lack of ability, but because his self-image still carried pain, trauma, and limitations that no fortune could erase. It's the opposite of what happened with Oprah Winfrey, who rose from extreme poverty, survived abuse and discrimination, and still built an empire. She consciously cultivated a mindset of growth and abundance, and the world responded. What differentiated the two wasn't talent, but how they dealt with their own inner image. I faced this boundary myself. As I started achieving greater results, a part of me repeated, "This isn't for you, it'll end soon." This silent conflict led me to self-destructive decisions, as if I wanted to prove I wasn't worthy of keeping what I'd gained. I spent nights in casinos, risking in minutes what had taken months to build, until I realized I was trying to return to my old comfort level. It was as if my mind were programmed to pull the emergency brake whenever I exceeded a certain limit. The feeling was one of not belonging, as if I were occupying a place that wasn't mine. And it was at that point that I understood that it wasn't enough to change the strategy or the work. It was my self-image that needed to be transformed, because it was the true thermostat of my financial life. This perception became even clearer when I encountered people who, theoretically, had everything going for them but failed because they believed they didn't deserve more than they already had. How many of us refuse opportunities because we consider them too big for us? How many downsize their dreams to fit into what others deem acceptable? This is the invisible poison of limiting beliefs, disguised as humility or prudence, but in practice keeping us trapped in mediocre patterns. That's why I say that 95% of success is mindset and only 5% is strategy. You can have the best plan, the best mentor, but if internally you still see yourself as small, you will find ways to sabotage the process. Science confirms this. Studies in behavioral economics show that well-being isn't directly linked to the absolute value of money, but to the perception of worthiness and how a person handles it. People who cultivate a vision of abundance experience less financial stress, even earning less than others who live in a scarcity mindset. The difference lies in how they interpret their own results and the choices they make from that interpretation. Those who believe they are capable of growth see every obstacle as training, every delay as an opportunity for adaptation. Those who see themselves as small, even in the face of great achievements, transform victories into defeats by failing to sustain what they have achieved. And that's why the habit of aligning your identity with what you desire is so vital. It's not enough to write on a card that you want to earn more. You need to see yourself as someone who knows how to manage, invest, and multiply that money. It's not enough to affirm that you want freedom. You need to live small proofs of freedom daily, consciously choosing where you spend your time, energy, and resources. It is in this daily practice that self-image begins to expand and propel life to a new level. The external world has no choice. It will always mirror the image you maintain within yourself. True transformation doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in the mental mirror you carry every day. And all this is just the beginning of a journey that can completely change how you see yourself and the world around you. The next step is right in front of you. Just watch the video that's appearing on the screen now. There, you'll climb another step in your evolution and become 1% better than you are at this moment. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next video.